Dr. Anita Herring.
Here.
Dr. Michael McDonald.
Here.
Mrs. Claire Maxwell.
Here.
Judge Steve Daniel.
Here.
Mayor Joe Carter.
Here. And the chair detects a quorum with that. Vice Chair Daniel, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes?
I have.
And
I find them to be in order and move that they be approved.
we have a motion for the minutes. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes stand approved. Sandra, do we have anybody for public comments?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I don't see anybody, but we got to ask. Lynn, number 4, open positions. Can you give us a status? on
Sure,
that,
we
please?
have one full-time male position that is open. We have filled all of our other open positions.
How long has that position been open, the full-time male?
We had it filled probably 2 months ago, but then we had someone else leave after that one
I
was
think,
filled.
okay.
We did find, we're very excited about our teacher. He has some great experience. That one has been filled.
Good.
And as far as our leaves are concerned, we don't have anyone out on leave except for one intermittent FMLA.
I have a question for you, Lynn, if that's okay. Do you have to find the teacher, or does the school board help you? Or does, not school board, but the county, does the county schools help you find that teacher?
We post all of our open positions on the Rutherford County Human Resources website.
Okay.
So we post it and then we do the interviews. Probably if we hadn't found somebody as quickly as we did that was so qualified, we could always ask. They've always been real good about helping us in any way that we
Okay.
needed. But it hasn't come to that yet.
Okay.
On that, let me ask you a question. How often do you review the job description and the essential functions related to that job description when you post for any position?
Right.
And I'm going somewhere specific. We addressed that last week, if you recall,
Yes.
a bit.
We, I feel like, have done a really good job of reviewing and updating. Every time we're asked to go through them and look, we do. So I feel like our department does a good job.
Okay. And just for the board's edification, we had one department that was submitting, would have an opening, they would post the job. They hadn't updated the job description of the essential functions in a while. And so what happened was it became somewhat outdated, and they were actually limiting the number of applicants, and they couldn't figure out why they weren't getting applicants. It's because they hadn't reviewed the job description, and once they reviewed, they found it was overly strict in the requirements for the job, and the job had changed over time, the requirements of that job, and didn't reflect what was in the application. And so that became a broader conversation across the county. To what extent are we overly restrictive in the job application that doesn't relate to the actual job duties, that doesn't get us the number of applicants that we would otherwise would receive? Is that right?
Yes.
So you're doing a good job on it. I'm just going to double check with all department heads to make sure. Okay, any further questions for Lynn on the open positions? Seeing none, we'll accept the data report, please, ma'am.
So in front of you, you have the information regarding the people that were detained as of this morning. We have a total population at the time of the report of 17, 9 of which were from Rutherford County, 3 from Montgomery, and 1 each from Gibson, Haywood, Houston, Weakley, and Wilson. And I can answer any question that you've got, I hope.
Depressing. Especially when you see a 13-year-old up for
Gibson County case. Yeah.
Mm. If there are no questions, then we will accept the data report without objection. Ms. Duke, item number 6, the Educational Services Report.
So you have the education report from the month of July, and we are on technically summer break. We do a little more interactive and fun stuff with the youth when it's technically summer break. However, we still do ingenuity with the kids, especially those who are working hard to pick up credits. And we'll answer any questions for that.
When do they start back to school?
Probably with the monthly report in August.
Bless you.
How does the educational services we provide the kids over there coincide with the actual run of the school year? To what extent does it or does it not?
We try to stay consistent with them. We probably do more school or education services during the summer, just because if you've got those kids that are engaged on this platform, he wants to keep them going and keep them working. Because
So it's more year-round than it is?
It is more year-round, but if there's a, the day that the last strong storm came through, where MTSU had the tornado come through, it was really rough that day in the building, and a lot of the kids were, their attention was not on their studies, so that day they decided to do a couple more fun activities because they had a little anxiety about the storm. So in the summer we have more flexibility than during the...
And depending on the child, you all, because they're getting more individualized attention, those children that can handle it can probably move faster
Yes.
in your system than they could in their zoned school.
As fast as they want to work those
Computers.
the computer work or their actual work. I'm sorry, the word's not coming to me. They can go through that as quick as they want to, or and he does have occasional. He'll have somebody who is behind on credits and
Credit recovery, like?
and can get back on track if they get back into school with
That's good
bricks
to
and
hear.
mortar,
Yeah.
and he can keep them going.
That's nice.
Any questions for Ms. Duke on the report, our educational report? Seeing none, and if there is no objection, we will accept. Other business, we have the SOP regarding Senate Bill 2507.
So we're going to start taking small bites at the SOP. This particular bill came through not too very long ago. I had several back and forth discussions with the state as to how they were defining and clarifying some of this information. Once I got that information from the state, I was able to go to the specific chapters and sections in our last approved SOP and pull out and make necessary changes, I think, to those existing policies. So I have given everybody a hard copy of the Senate and House bill, have highlighted like the meat of what they were wanting done or the changes. And then for each section, I have the way that the March 2023 chapter and section that's affected currently reads, with a follow-up behind it with read of the sections and changes that I think would be appropriate and would be able to make the necessary changes in existing policy to make sure that we are getting everything done as far as this new Senate bill is concerned. I had a unannounced DCS monitoring visit a couple weeks ago. She knew that, or the auditor knew that we would be coming to the board today with these proposed policy updates, and she was fine with us having a look at it and having a discussion about it today. So we can go over individual changes or however the board would like to discuss the proposed changes.
Vice Chairman Daniel, you're recognized.
I read the statute, I read the efforts that have been presented. It looks to me like there's been a good job of marrying what the statute requires with the verbiage that's put in here. And I would move that the proposed amendment to the SOP dealing with these telephone and visits required by the Senate bill be approved.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. So we'll have a little discussion. So I want to make sure I understand. You've looked at the Senate bill
I have.
that has passed into law, and you've looked at how we would incorporate those proposed changes into our current SOP, and you're satisfied
With the
that
drafting.
That's correct.
Yes.
With the current drafting, you're satisfied that that meets the requirement of both state law and what our intent is with the SOP. Is that correct?
I believe that's true.
Perfect. So any further discussion on this?
This is just an aside. It doesn't have anything to do with this, as far as this concerns. But it's sort of interesting that this is being proposed. I think it's a good proposal by the legislature, and I think our SOP is good as well. When you're dealing with juveniles and they need to have their parent or guardian participate. They need to have that intervention. They need to have communication. It may be the turning point in their life, so I think that's important. The cynical side of me thinks about many trials and experiences I had in criminal court, and it's important for the lawyers in the room to realize that when people start talking on the telephone in a situation where others listen, they have no privacy rights. There's no expectation of privacy. They can't complain later if in some of those conversations, someone who listens there, like is required in this situation, can testify against them. But that's not the purpose of the bill, and that's really not germane to what we have to have in the SOP, so I'm not concerned with it.
Excellent. So the motion would be to accept the changes reflected in the bill, incorporate those into the SOP as presented. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Dr. Anita Herring,
Yes.
Dr. Michael McDonald,
Yes.
Mrs. Claire Maxwell,
Yes.
Judge Steve Daniel,
Yes.
Mayor Joe Carr.
Yes. Passes. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Could I ask, is there any other anticipated legislation that
You
we
beat
need
me
to
to the
work on?
fact. Great. That's great.
So, they are still waiting, and I suspect it will be some time before the newly proposed minimum standards are finalized, because there's some legal maneuvering going on right now with the state that I think that they don't want to prove something and then changes are required soon after. So as far as minimum standards, I think it's still going to be a little bit before those are, is it promulgated? Is that
Yes,
the
and
correct
so,
word?
yeah, that's correct. And so the question I have is so the rest of this bill with regard to the rule changes have not gone through the Joint Commission on Government Operations, is that correct? Because that's where those rules would be promulgated, is out.
That's correct.
GovOps, the Joint Commission, which is the House and the Senate. And so we haven't received that yet from GovOps, okay.
But I do have some minor changes based on where I have continuously reviewed the SOP, where we didn't catch something the last time. So I have a few little minor internal changes that I'm going to be bringing forward that should be pretty easily reviewed. But as far as the big minimum standards, I would like to wait because I don't want to put the effort into it and then it could change again.
Right. My question to you, Lynn, on regards to future changes to the SOP that result from this particular piece of legislation, it almost sounds like you would like to take those in incremental bites as we move along, so there may be several adjustments to the SOP that are reflected in the legislation, or are you looking to do everything all at once once you get the rest of it done out of the Joint Commission on Government Operations? Have you thought about that?
No, the way that we,
You see what I'm asking?
Yes.
How do you want to bring those future changes to the SOP to the board? Do you want to do them as the changes are promulgated out of Nashville, or do you want to batch them all up at one time and do it all at once?
once they promulgate them, it will be the total change to the entire minimum standards. And then once those are shared with everyone, then that's when we start going through it and making those internal changes based on what we currently have. I guess I would, on the one hand, it might be easier to do it as we plug through, but
Personally, I think it's easier for me to digest when I have something like this that's very specific, it's very targeted, as opposed to just dropping a whole bunch of rule changes where we haven't had a chance to digest it and discuss it. That's just my perspective, but I would like to open that discussion up to the board about how you would like to move through the rest of these SOP changes as a result of the law that's been changed.
It's easier to eat an elephant one bite at a time.
My point exactly, Judge.
I agree.
Dr. Herring?
Yes, I agree.
Dr. McDonald?
I'm good with that. I'd also just say, I guess, what's given some deference to staff and in terms of their ability to achieve it.
Yeah. So why don't you just manage us in that regard, and to the extent that we have to have 2 or 3 of these kind of meetings before we get it completely digested, I think the board is okay with that.
one of the things that we changed with the March 2023 effort is that each chapter and section is pulled out and in one nice little package, so that whereas before the way it read, it made it very hard to take those little bites. So I think this next go round will be much easier than it has been in the past.
Thank you. Any other business before the committee? Seeing none, if there's no objection.
I have a-
Dr. Herring, you're recognized.
We want to say happy birthday to Dr. McDowell.
Oh, my goodness.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, old man.
Happy birthday.
Birthday on me. Thank you. I thought I was going to get away with it. Thank you all so
How
much.
many does that make?
Well, if you're going by Jack Benny, it's 39.
Touche. Well, happy
At
birthday.
least we know
Thank
who
you.
Jack Benny is.
That's
right.
I know who Jack Benny is. I remember back Jack Benny on the black and white. How
That's
about
right, I'll be
that?
68 tomorrow.
Amen. Well, happy birthday.
Thank you all so much.
Without objection, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah.